So the Baltimore Ravens dominated once again over the Denver Broncos, 41-10. Ravens moved to 6-3 again. It's a powerful 6-3. Oh, they're the best 6-3 team in history. Very close to being 9-0, 8-1. Broncos fall to 5-4, but the Ravens with another statement against the Broncos, who are a playoff caliber team in the AFC so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, this was impressive. Like another one of those games where you're kind of talking yourself into this could be, a pretty close game. This is a tough test, and then Baltimore just absolutely annihilates Denver. And it didn't even necessarily all go their way early. Like, yeah, they got the instant sort of tipped interception from Bo Nix, but Denver's defense stood up on that drive. Like, they backed them up from that point. Actually, they didn't get any points out of that. They missed the field goal, right? Or they knocked them out of field goal range. But then from that point on, like, I don't know how deep into the game it went before Lamar Jackson actually threw an incompletion, but it was pretty deep. He ends up with a perfect passer rating, his fourth of his NFL career, which ties a record. You know who the other person is?
Was it Breeze?
No.
Thought I had it.
You got to think there's a certain type of box score. You're a box score origami. There's a certain type of box score you need generally to get a perfect passer rating. So it needs to be very efficient.
It's going to be
reasonably
usually
low
attempts. Low attempts.
Right. So who would that bring up in terms of
Russ?
high-end all-time quarterbacks? No, right idea, though. Ish.
Who
Roethlisberger.
Oh, Roethlisberger, yeah.
Roethlisberger also has 4 perfect passer
I still
rating
see him
games.
as a high-volume guy because
of the end.
Because he morphed into that at one point.
The first half of his career was very much of this style.
Yeah, this is one of those Lamar games. And he's 16 of 19. I think one pass was thrown away. One was like a questionable. There was 2 technical drops. One was kind of like underthrown a little bit, but uber efficient game from Lamar Jackson. I think his official stat line, 16 of 19 for 280. That's almost 15 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He got sacked once for that 11 yards that took them out of field goal range. Was it in that one? But man, we're seeing different types of throws too. I think you've got an in rhythm wheel route to Justice Hill. There's a few more hit the top. He had an in rhythm seam. You don't see a ton of those, like hit the top of your drop and not just hit like a little quick out, but like drive the ball down the field or touch pass down the field. We're seeing more of those from Lamar the last couple of weeks. And you know me, I think I'm all about diversity of your offense, right? Diversification of the offense, different ways to win. And look, the Ravens didn't win the Super Bowl last year. It's not a failed season. They were the best team in the NFL in the regular season, losing the AFC Championship. But they took steps in that direction last year where every single week I always compared them to a pitcher who changes speeds and has everything in their arsenal, right? You've got yak players, you have downfield threats, you have Lamar the runner, who's as difficult to defend as any, one skill set in the NFL, and you had a good running game last year. Now you add even more to that. I think you're getting more in rhythm passes from Lamar Jackson, the last couple weeks in particular, and you have the Derrick Henry factor, who's now scored a touchdown in every game as a Raven. 2 touchdowns in this game, 106 yards. The Ravens have all the answers. And in a game like this where all the answers are working, you put up 41, maybe could have put up more. And then in games where not everything's working, you still have something that's going to work. And that's what makes the Ravens so dangerous, is all these different ways that they can win offensively.
Yeah, I mean, this game was like a clinic they put up a ton of points, had this insane efficient success against a good defense. Patrick Surtain was not targeted in this game, right? So they did all of this whilst avoiding effectively Denver's best player. Denver's pass rush has been, diverse, multiple, a ton of players involved in it. It barely factored in this game. It did right at the start where they stood up, they sacked Lamar Jackson, they knocked the Ravens out of field goal range. Outside of that, it really didn't make much of an impact whatsoever. So they did all of this whilst avoiding the 2 biggest threats that this Denver defense brings to the table, and then just went ham with everything else that they're able to do. Like, just a masterclass of absolutely picking apart what is a good high-level defense. I mean, when the Ravens play like this, they look like the best team in the NFL.
Also wanted to shout out Zay Flowers, who I thought last year I think he left a little something on the table, right? There was a lot of passes to nowhere to Zay Flowers. He had a good rookie season. Don't get me wrong. But this year, it's not like, hey, here's a little screen pass for 2 that he jukes 5 guys. That 53-yard touchdown, Zay Flowers outrunning he's just looks quicker, faster, and just like running after the catch with a better purpose this year, and also running a little bit better before routes, getting open a little bit cleaner down the field. I'm just really impressed with Zay Flowers this year relative to last year. I thought he was a good rookie season, and I know production-wise it's kind of been like a roller coaster ride for Zay, but overall, just a bigger play threat this year than he was last year, and I think that's been a huge part of this offense.
And that's the scary thing for the rest of the NFL as well, is that I think this offense can get better because Diontae Johnson, who they just traded for, barely featured in this game, right? He's only just arrived there. He ran like six routes, something like that. I think Diontae Johnson can unlock an even greater level of potential from Zay Flowers inside in the slot. If Diontae Johnson comes in, occupies a lot of those outside snaps, I think Zay Flowers can be really, really effective inside as a full-time player, or at least mostly there. And, this is the type of game that he can have if Diontae Johnson comes in and allows them to just focus on putting him there. Like, this offense could be even better. Like, Johnson should be the best route runner on this team. Johnson, Bateman outside, Zay Flowers in the slot, the 2 tight ends, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, Derrick Henry in the backfield, Lamar Jackson. Like, this offense can get even better than this.
So we get Thursday night football this week. Bengals, Ravens.
Yep.
On Thursday night. 2 highest graded quarterbacks by PFF, I believe, at the moment. 2 highest quarterbacks in ESPN's QBR.
The 2 quarterbacks that have thrown 5 touchdowns in a game this season.
2 QBs who have thrown 5 touchdowns. And it should be a great Thursday night football matchup. Ravens and Bengals. Also, it's funny how this happens sometimes. Like, we saw this on Thursday night in Baltimore last year. That was the game that Joe Burrow got hurt, and Jake Browning had to come in, for the rest of the season for Cincinnati. So I'm looking forward to that, obviously. Huge matchup in the AFC North. And look, I know the Steelers are 6-2 and technically in first in the North, but yeah, Baltimore's on pace again to look like one of the best, if not the best team in the NFL, the way they're dominating teams.
I thought Bo Nix played reasonably well in this game. However, one problem is that Bo Nix might be the best wide receiver on the Broncos roster based off yesterday. Phenomenal catch. To be fair, Cortland Sutton's a good player as well. But that was a good pass and an amazing catch by Bo Nix. But that first interception, right? Like, why are we still throwing the ball to little Jordan Humphrey? He's a pet project player for Sean Payton, and it's like, he's not good enough to be playing as a starting receiver in this offense. He just isn't. And if he is one of those players, that's like a giant red flag that says I need another one of those, because that's not going to cut it.
Passes to QBs are funny because it's like when you design it, you're hoping you completely trick the defense.
Yeah, and he's wide open.
He's wide open.
Lands in his hands.
On Thursday night, we saw like a contested catch opportunity for C.J. Stroud. It's like, oh, let's just chuck it up to C.J. Stroud in tight coverage. It's like, no, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Bobby missed on this one. It didn't work. Just throw it away. But a contested catch by Bo Nix, like you don't see that. But Nick's really
amazing
impressive.
Adjustment.
Yeah.
Like, had to adjust back to it, making contested catch, and then on the way down, contort himself back across the goal line to make sure that he actually scored.
Yeah, and that's also one of those, like, if he gets hurt on that play or something, you're just like, wow, that's a questionable decision.
Right.
Like Stafford last year, diving for the goal line with a bad thumb.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.